At the divorce signing, Olivia leaned back in her chair, fingers intertwined with Ethan's, Marcus Hale's wealthier best friend, while she watched her husband give everything up without a fight. The house, the savings, even the car. "You were always comfortable being average," she said quietly. Ethan smiled. "Some men just don't have what it takes." Marcus didn't argue. He signed the final page like it meant nothing. Because while they dismissed him as small, they had no idea he had just closed a $2 billion deal under a name they'd never bothered to notice. Welcome to today's story. If you enjoy emotional drama and shocking twists, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. And before we begin, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. 3 months earlier, Marcus Hale was still the man they thought they understood. He lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Chicago, a modest 2-bedroom house. A 10-year-old sedan parked in the driveway. Nothing about his life suggested ambition or risk. At least, that's what Olivia believed. Marcus worked as an operations manager at a mid-sized logistics company. It wasn't glamorous. It didn't come with headlines or bonuses that turned heads at dinner parties. His job was to keep things running, fix problems before they became disasters, make sure other people's work looked seamless. He was good at it, quietly, consistently good. But quiet didn't impress Olivia anymore. At first, it had. When they got married, she liked that he was steady, reliable. The kind of man who came home at the same time every evening and remembered small things. What she didn't expect was how quickly steady would start to feel like stuck. Especially after Ethan re-entered their lives. Ethan Cole had been Marcus's best friend since college. Back then, they had both been broke, sharing cheap apartments and talking about building something bigger. But somewhere along the way, Ethan had figured out how to move faster. He dressed better, talked bigger, took risks Marcus never seemed interested in. Now, Ethan owned luxury car dealerships across the city. He showed up in tailored suits and watches that caught light from across the room. When he walked into a space, people noticed. When Marcus did, they didn't stop talking. The shift didn't happen overnight. It rarely did. It started with dinners. Ethan stopping by with expensive wine Olivia had never heard of. Stories about deals, clients, expansion plans. Olivia listened. At first politely, then with curiosity, then with something harder to ignore. Marcus noticed the way her posture changed when Ethan spoke, the way she leaned in, laughed a little longer, asked follow-up questions she hadn't asked Marcus in months. He didn't interrupt. He didn't compete. He just watched. One night, as Ethan described a new acquisition, Olivia turned to Marcus. "Have you ever thought about doing something bigger?" she asked. Marcus set his glass down. "I like what I do." Ethan chuckled softly, not unkind, but not neutral either. "There's nothing wrong with comfort," he said. "Some people just don't need more." Olivia didn't respond right away, but the silence said enough. Later that night, Marcus stood in the kitchen rinsing glasses while Olivia scrolled through her phone. "You know," she says, without looking up, "Ethan works insane hours, but it's paying off." Marcus dried his hands slowly. "That's good for him," she sighed. Not loudly. "Just enough. That's the difference," she said. "He wants something more." Marcus didn't answer. He had learned that explanations didn't land the way they should anymore. What Olivia didn't see was what happened outside of those conversations. The calls Marcus took in private, always short, always precise. The emails he never opened in front of her. The way certain names appeared on his phone of people who you didn't usually ask your bands one his managers. One afternoon, while Olivia was out, Marcus sat in his car in a quiet parking structure, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes," he said calmly. "We move forward as planned." A pause. "No public filings until next week. Keep it contained." His tone didn't match the life he lived. On the other end, the voice addressed him differently. Not casually, not like an employee, like someone who made decisions. When the call ended, Marcus sat there for a moment, looking out at the concrete walls. He wasn't hiding because he was ashamed. He was waiting. Back at home, Olivia had started spending more time out. Dinners that ran late. Events Marcus wasn't invited to. Sometimes Ethan was there. Sometimes she didn't mention who was. But she always came back different. More distant. More certain. One evening, Marcus walked into the living room and found Olivia dressed for an event. Some an upscale, something that didn't fit into their usual routine. You're going out? He asked. With Ethan, she said, adjusting her bracelet. It's a networking thing. You wouldn't enjoy it. Marcus nodded once. Okay. She hesitated for half a second, like she expected more. A reaction. A question. He didn't give her one. That bothered her more than if he had. You don't even care? She asked. Marcus met her eyes. I trust you to make your choices. The words landed heavier than he intended. Olivia looked away first. That night, Marcus stayed home. The house felt larger than usual. Quieter. His phone buzzed again. A message this time. Board confirmation secured. Final signatures pending. He read it once, then locked the screen. In another world, he could have said something. Could have changed the direction of everything with a single sentence. But he didn't, because some truths only mattered when people revealed who they were without them, and Olivia was revealing more every day. Near midnight, he heard her come in. Soft footsteps, the sound of heels placed carefully by the door. He didn't move. From the hallway, her voice carried faintly. She was on the phone. I can't keep doing this, she said. I need something more. A pause. I deserve more. Marcus closed his eyes, not out of anger, but out of clarity. The next morning, the first draft of the divorce papers arrived by courier. And later that same day, Marcus received another message. The board had scheduled the final vote. Everything would become public within days. He set the phone down, expression unreadable, because by then, the choice had already been made. Just not by the person who thought she was winning. Olivia didn't bring up the divorce right away. She let it sit between them for 2 days, quiet but heavy, like something already decided that just needed to be spoken out loud. Marcus noticed the shift, the way she moved through the house without looking at him, the way her phone never left her hand, the way Ethan's name came up more often, and never accidentally. On the third evening, she finally said it. They were sitting across from each other at the dining table, dinner untouched, the room too quiet. I've been thinking, she began, her voice controlled, almost rehearsed. About us, about what this is. Marcus didn't interrupt. He waited. She looked at him then, really looked, as if trying to confirm something she had already decided. This isn't working, she said. We've outgrown each other. The words landed clean, no hesitation, no emotion behind them. Marcus nodded once. Okay. That wasn't the response she expected. Her eyes narrowed slightly. That's it? What do you want me to say? He asked calmly. I don't know, she said. A hint of frustration breaking through. Something. Anything. Most people don't just agree. Marcus leaned back in his chair. If you've already made up your mind, arguing won't change it. For a moment, she didn't speak. That quiet steadiness of his, the same thing she used to admire, now felt like indifference, or worse, weakness. I need more, Marcus, she said more sharply now. I need a life that actually moves forward. He held her gaze. Then you should go after that. The simplicity of it unsettled her, because it didn't give her anything to push against. No guilt, no resistance, no reason to justify herself further. That night, she slept in the guest room. Marcus didn't try to stop her. The next morning, she was already on the phone when he came into the kitchen, her voice low, but not low enough. Yes, she said. I'm serious this time. A pause. I don't want to wait anymore. Marcus poured coffee without looking at her. He didn't need to hear the other side of the conversation. He already knew. Later that afternoon, Ethan came by. He didn't knock like he used to. He walked in like the house was already his. Olivia greeted him in the living room, her tone lighter than it didn't in weeks. Marcus stayed in the kitchen, but he could hear them clearly. You told him? Ethan asked. Yes, Olivia replied. Last night. And? He didn't fight it. Ethan let out a quiet laugh. Of course he didn't. Marcus dried his hand slowly, not rushing, not reacting. Honestly, Ethan continued, you should done this sooner. I know, Olivia said. I just kept thinking things would change. They don't, Ethan said. Not unless someone actually wants more. There was a pause. Then Olivia's voice again, softer this time. I do want more. Marcus stepped into the doorway. They both looked at him. Ethan didn't move his hand from the back of Olivia's chair. Marcus noticed. He just didn't comment on it. Do you need something? Olivia asked, her tone neutral. No, Marcus said. Just checking if you wanted coffee. I'm fine, he nodded once. All right. He turned and walked back into the kitchen. Behind him, their conversation resumed, quieter now. Not quiet enough. That evening, Olivia approached him again, this time with a folder in her hand. "I spoke to an attorney," she said, "just to understand the process." Marcus looked at the folder, then at her. "Okay, it's straightforward," she continued. "We can keep it simple, if we both agree." He waited. "The house," she said, "it makes more sense to keep it. My job's here, my network's here." Marcus didn't respond immediately, not because he was considering it, because he was noticing how easily she said it, like the outcome was obvious. "The car too," she added, "and the savings. It's cleaner that way." He nodded slowly. "And you? What about me? What do you keep?" he asked. She frowned slightly. "I just said." "No," Marcus said. "I mean, what do you keep after this?" The question caught her off guard. For a second, something flickered across her face. Then it was gone. "I'm building something better," she said. "That's what I keep." Ethan's influence was everywhere in that sentence. Marcus could hear it. He didn't challenge it. "If that's what you want," he said. She studied him again, searching for something. Anger, regret, anything that would make this feel like a real loss. But he gave her none of it. That night, Marcus sat alone in the living room after Olivia went to bed. His phone buzzed. He picked it up, a new message. Board vote confirmed. Final signatures scheduled for Friday. All parties aligned. He read it twice. Then a second message followed almost immediately. "We'll need your approval in person before public release." Marcus leaned back, staring at the screen. In person. That hadn't been part of the original plan. He glanced down the hallway toward the closed guest room door. Olivia was already moving forward, already building a future that didn't include him, and for the first time the timing felt tight. Not impossible, just closer than before. He typed a short reply, "I'll be there." Then he locked his phone and set it aside. In the silence that followed, Marcus made a decision. Not about the deal. That was already done. About everything else. The next morning, he printed a set of documents from his personal laptop. Not the deal papers. Not anything that would raise questions. Just copies, records, dates, ownership structures simplified to something only he would recognize at a glance. He placed them in a plain envelope and slid it into the back of a drawer in his study. Not for now, for later. Because if things unfolded the way they were heading, he might need proof. Not to win, but to protect what mattered. That afternoon, Olivia returned home earlier than usual. She walked straight into the kitchen, dropped her bag on the counter, and looked at Marcus with a certainty that hadn't been there before. "I want to move forward with the divorce," she said. "No hesitation this time. No testing the waters." Marcus met her eyes. "Okay." She exhaled, almost relieved. "I'll have the papers ready by the end of the week." Marcus nodded. "Do what you need to do." She turned to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth," she said without looking back, "this is the right decision." Marcus didn't answer. He just watched her walk away. And somewhere in the background, his phone buzzed again. Another message. Time and location confirmed. Friday, 10 a.m. Boardroom A. Marcus picked up the phone, read the details, and slipped it back into his pocket, because by Friday morning, two completely different lives were about to collide, and only one of them knew it. Ethan didn't bother hiding it anymore. By the end of the week, he was in the house almost every evening, not as a guest, not as a friend, something in between that no one needed to name out loud. Marcus saw the shift in small details first. Ethan's jacket left draped over the back of a chair, his shoes by the door. A glass poured before he even asked. Olivia stopped explaining his presence. She moved through the house like Marcus was already gone. That Friday morning, Marcus left earlier than usual. He wore the same kind of clothes he always did. Clean, simple. Nothing that drew attention. Nothing that suggested anything beyond the man Olivia believed him to be. But when he got into his car, he didn't drive toward the logistics office. He drove downtown. The building was glass and steel, rising above everything around it. Corporate, quiet power. The kind of place where decisions didn't get announced, they just happened. Marcus parked in the underground garage and sat there for a moment. Then he stepped out. Inside, the lobby was controlled and quiet. A receptionist looked up, ready to redirect him, until she saw his face. Her posture changed instantly. "Good morning, Mr. Hale," she said. Marcus gave a small nod. "Morning, no questions, no sign-in sheet." She pressed a button behind the desk. "They're ready for you upstairs." The elevator ride was silent. On the top floor, the doors opened directly into a private reception area. A man in a dark suit was already waiting. "Mr. Hale," he said, stepping forward, hand extended. "Everything's prepared." Marcus shook his hand once. "Let's keep it efficient." The boardroom doors opened as they approached. Inside, a long table, 6 people already seated, all of them stood, entered. Respect wasn't spoken here. It was automatic. They didn't greet him like an employee. They greeted him like the one person whose decision mattered. The meeting moved quickly. Numbers, projections, legal confirmations, everything had been reviewed already. Today was formality and authority. "The acquisition closes upon your signature," one of the board members said, sliding the final document across the table. Marcus didn't pick up the pen right away. "Public release?" he asked. "Monday morning," another replied. "Financial press first. SC filings immediately after." Marcus nodded once. "And internal, contained," the man said. "Only essential parties know." Marcus's gaze lingered on the document. Then he signed. No ceremony, no hesitation. Just a quiet stroke of ink that locked in $2 billion worth of decisions. When he stood, the others followed. "Congratulations," someone said. Marcus didn't smile. "We're not done." He walked out the same way he came in. No announcements, no attention. By the time he reached the parking garage, his phone had already filled with messages. He ignored them. Because that part of his life stayed separate. It had to. Back at the house, Olivia was in the living room when he walked in. Ethan was there too. They were sitting close. Not touching in a way that could be called obvious, but close enough that it didn't need explanation. Olivia looked up first. "You're home early," she said. Marcus set his keys down. "So are you." Ethan leaned back, casual, comfortable. "We were just talking about timelines," he said. Marcus glanced at him briefly. "Timelines?" "For the divorce," Olivia said quickly. "Just planning ahead." Marcus nodded. "That makes sense." She studied him again. There was something about the way he said it, like he wasn't reacting to anything, like he had already moved past this part. It irritated her more than anger would have. "We should be efficient about it," she continued. "No dragging things out." "I agree," Marcus said. Ethan smirked slightly. "Good. That makes it easier for everyone." Marcus met his eyes for a second longer this time. Not confrontational, just steady. Ethan looked away first. It was subtle, but it happened. Olivia didn't notice. She stood, crossing her arms. The attorney sent over preliminary terms. "I'll forward them to you." "You can print them," Marcus said. "I'll review them tonight." She hesitated. "You actually want to read them?" "Yes." The answer was simple. It shouldn't have felt significant, but it did. That evening, Olivia handed him the documents. Marcus took them to his study and closed the door. For the first time since this started, he sat down and read every page carefully, not because he needed to. Because it mattered that he did. The terms were exactly what he expected. Asset transfer, property rights, no future claims clause. Clean, efficient, final. Olivia had positioned it well, or thought she had. Marcus leaned back in his chair, eyes scanning the clauses again. Then he reached into the drawer. The envelope he had prepared earlier sat exactly where he left it. He pulled it out, opened it, and compared a few lines, not for legal contradiction. For alignment. Everything was moving the way he anticipated. He placed the documents back on the desk, and for the first time he made a small adjustment, not to the deal, to himself. The next morning, when Olivia mentioned sending the papers to her attorney, Marcus stopped her. "I'll have someone look at them," he said. She blinked. "Someone?" "A lawyer," Marcus replied. Ethan laughed lightly from the kitchen. "Since when do you have a lawyer?" Marcus didn't look at him. Since now, the tone wasn't defensive. It wasn't loud, but it closed the conversation. Olivia watched him more carefully after that. Something had shifted, not enough to name, but enough to feel. Later that afternoon, Marcus stepped outside to take a call. "Yes," he said quietly. A voice on the other end spoke quickly. "We need confirmation on the release language," the man said. "There's also interest from 2 additional firms. They want in before the announcement." Marcus leaned against the side of the house, eyes distant. "Too late," he said. "We're locked." A pause. "Understood. And your availability next week?" Marcus glanced toward the window. He could see Olivia inside moving through the kitchen. Ethan still there. Limited, Marcus said. Handle what you can without me. Yes, sir. The line went dead. Marcus stayed there for a moment longer. Then he went back inside. Olivia turned as he entered. Was that work? She asked. Marcus met her eyes. For now, he said. She frowned slightly. Something about that answer didn't sit right, but she couldn't explain why. That night, as she reviewed the documents again, her phone buzzed. A message from her attorney. There's an additional clause draft we need to discuss. It's standard, but important. She opened the attachment. Her eyes scanned the page once, then again. Because buried near the bottom in precise legal language was a line she didn't remember agreeing to. Any undisclosed assets held solely under one party's name prior to or during the marriage remain exclusively theirs, with no future claim. Olivia frowned. That didn't matter. Marcus didn't have undisclosed assets. She almost dismissed it. But something made her pause. Just long enough to feel a flicker of uncertainty she couldn't place. Across the house, Marcus sat in the darkened study, phone in his hand. A new message had just come through. Press embargo confirmed. Release scheduled for Monday, 9 a.m. He read it once, then set the phone down, because in less than 72 hours, the version of him Olivia thought she understood would no longer exist, and she still had no idea what she had already signed away. The attorney's office smelled like polished wood and quiet judgment. Marcus arrived 5 minutes early. He wore the same clothes he always did. Clean, simple, forgettable. The kind of man people glanced at once and then looked past. Olivia and Ethan were already there. They sat side by side at the far end of the conference table, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. Olivia's posture was straight, composed. Ethan leaned back slightly, one arm draped over the chair behind her like he belonged there. Marcus took the empty seat across from them. No one greeted him. The attorney, a woman in her 40s with a precise tone and sharper eyes, adjusted the stack of documents in front of her. Mr. Hale, she said, thank you for coming. We've reviewed the preliminary agreement. This should be straightforward. Marcus nodded once. That's fine. Olivia glanced at him briefly, as if checking for hesitation. She didn't find any. The attorney continued. The division is simple. Mrs. Hale retains the marital residence, the primary vehicle, and joint savings accounts. Mr. Hale retains his personal retirement accounts and any individual holdings. Marcus didn't interrupt. Ethan smiled faintly. Seems fair. Marcus met his eyes for a second, then looked back at the documents. Any questions? The attorney asked. Olivia spoke first. No, I think it's clear. Marcus picked up the pen. The movement was calm, almost routine. The attorney paused, watching him. I do recommend you read through the final clause regarding future claims. Marcus glanced down. He had already read it the night before. Carefully. Any undisclosed assets held solely under one party's name, prior to or during the marriage, remain exclusively theirs, with no future claim. He knew exactly what that meant. Olivia didn't. Marcus signed the first page, then the second. No hesitation. The sound of pen against paper was steady, almost quiet enough to disappear. Across the table, Ethan shifted slightly. You're not even going to negotiate, he asked. Marcus didn't look up. No. Ethan let out a short breath. That's convenient. Olivia's expression tightened for a moment. Not doubt, something else. Something closer to confusion. You're sure about this? She asked. Marcus finally looked at her. Yes. One word. No explanation, no resentment. Just certainty. It unsettled her more than anger would have. The attorney slid the next set of pages forward. These finalize property transfer timelines, she said. Once signed, execution begins immediately. Marcus signed again. He didn't ask for delays. He didn't request conditions. He didn't push back. Each signature made the outcome feel more real, and less like a fight. Ethan leaned forward now, resting his elbows on the table. I've seen guys drag this out for months, he said. Lawyers, court dates, arguments. You're making this easy? Marcus capped the pen and set it down. I don't see a reason to make it difficult. Ethan smirked. Guess you don't have much to protect. The room went quiet for half a second. Marcus didn't react. Not outwardly. But something in the way he held Ethan's gaze shifted. Not defensive. Not challenged. Just measured. Ethan looked away first again. It was quick, but it happened. Olivia noticed that one. The attorney cleared her throat. Let's continue. They moved through the final documents. Signatures, initials, confirmations. At the end, the attorney gathered everything into a neat stack. "I'll file these this afternoon," she said. "You'll both receive confirmation once processed." Olivia exhaled slowly, like something had been completed. Ethan reached for her hand under the table. This time, Marcus saw it clearly, and still said nothing. "That concludes our meeting." Marcus rose as well. No lingering, no final words. He buttoned his jacket and stepped back from the table. Olivia stood across from him. For a brief moment, it was just the two of them, no lawyer, no Ethan. "You'll be okay," she said. Her tone softened slightly, like she was offering closure, like she was the one granting it. Marcus looked at her. "I know." That was all he said. Not reassurance, not a plea, just acknowledgement. Ethan stepped forward again, breaking whatever remained of that moment. "Take care of yourself," he added, his tone casual, but edged with something quieter. "Things don't get easier out there." Marcus nodded once, then turned and walked out. The hallway felt longer than it should have, or maybe quieter. By the time he reached the elevator, his phone buzzed. He didn't check it right away. He stepped inside, pressed the button, waited. Only then did he take the phone out. A single message. "Board release confirmed. Press scheduled. All signatures logged." Marcus read it once, then slipped the phone back into his pocket. Because as far as the world knew, nothing had changed yet. Outside, the air felt different. Not lighter, just clearer. Marcus walked to his car, unlocked it, and sat behind the wheel. For a moment, he didn't start the engine. He just sat there, then his phone rang. This time, he answered. "Yes, Mr. Hale," the voice said, calm and professional. "We've had inquiries already. Pre-release speculation. Your name is starting to surface internally." Marcus's grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly. "How far?" he asked. "Limited. But it won't stay that way once filings go public." Marcus looked straight ahead. Timing. Everything came down to timing. "Keep it contained until Monday," he said. "We'll try," the voice replied. "But you should be prepared." The line ended. Marcus leaned back in his seat. For the first time, the separation between his two lives felt thinner, not broken, but close. Back at the law office, Olivia was still standing in the conference room. The attorney had stepped out to make copies. Ethan was checking his phone. "You handled that well," he said, glancing at her. Olivia didn't respond immediately. She was staring at the documents on the table, at Marcus's signature. Something about it didn't sit right. Not because of what he gave up, because of how easily he did it. "He didn't even hesitate," she said quietly. Ethan shrugged. "That's who he is." She shook her head slightly. "No, it's more than that." Ethan looked up. "What do you mean?" Olivia hesitated. She didn't have an answer, just a feeling, and it wasn't a good one. The attorney returned with a fresh copy of the agreement. "Everything is in order," she said, handing it to Olivia. Olivia took it, flipping through the pages again. Her eyes paused on one clause, the same one from the night before. Undisclosed assets. She read it again, then again. Her brow furrowed slightly. "Is something wrong?" the attorney asked. Olivia shook her head. "No, just making sure." But she didn't turn the page right away. Across town, Marcus finally started the engine. Because in less than 48 hours, the part of his life Olivia never questioned was about to become the only thing anyone would see. And she had just signed away the right to it. The house felt different after the papers were signed. Not empty, not yet, but quieter in a way that didn't belong to silence. Olivia moved through it like she was already transitioning into something else. Her calls were longer, her tone lighter. There was a sense of forward motion in everything she did, as if she had stepped into a life she had been waiting for. Ethan didn't knock anymore. By Sunday evening, he was sitting at the kitchen island while Olivia poured him a drink like it was routine, like it had always been this way. Marcus stood in the doorway for a moment, watching them. Not with anger, with clarity. "You staying for dinner?" Olivia asked, not looking at him. "No," Marcus said. "I have things to take care of." Ethan glanced over, faint smile in place. "Busy schedule?" Marcus met his eyes, something like that. He didn't elaborate, he didn't need to. Upstairs, Marcus opened his closet and pulled out a small duffel bag. Not much, just essentials. A few clothes, a laptop, documents he had already separated days earlier. He moved methodically, no hesitation, no second guessing. Downstairs, Olivia laughed at something Ethan said. The sound carried up the stairs. Marcus zipped the bag. He paused for a second, looking around the room. Nothing sentimental pulled at him. No object made him reconsider, because what mattered wasn't in the room. It never had been. He walked back down. Olivia looked up as he entered the living room, bag in hand. "You're leaving?" she asked. "Yes." She blinked. "Already?" Marcus set the bag by the door. "There's no reason to stay." Ethan leaned back slightly, watching the exchange like it was unfolding exactly as expected. Olivia crossed her arms. "You don't even want to talk about logistics." "We already did," Marcus said. "Everything's signed." Her expression tightened. Again, not anger. Something closer to being unsettled. "You're really just walking away," she said. Marcus nodded once. "That's what you wanted." The words weren't sharp, but they landed. For a moment, Olivia didn't respond, because somewhere underneath everything else, she had expected resistance. Not this. Not a man who could detach this cleanly. Ethan broke the silence. "Well," he said, standing up, "at least this part's simple." Marcus looked at him briefly, then picked up his bag. He didn't say goodbye. He didn't need to. Outside, the evening air felt colder than before. Marcus placed the bag in the back seat and got into the driver's seat. For a moment, he sat there again, the same way he had after the meeting. Still, centered. Then his phone buzzed. He checked it this time. Internal leak confirmed. Name likely to surface within 24 hours. Marcus exhaled slowly, earlier than expected. He typed a short reply. "Accelerate nothing. Stick to schedule." He put the phone down. Timing was tightening, but not breaking. Not yet. Across the street, through the living room window, he could see Olivia and Ethan moving closer together, their silhouettes overlapping in a way that made the transition undeniable. Marcus started the engine. He didn't look back again. He drove toward downtown, not to the office everyone knew, to a place no one connected to him. The building was older, discreet, no signage that drew attention. Inside, a private office waited. Not large, but controlled, his space. He set the bag down, opened his laptop, and logged into a system that wasn't tied to his public identity. Documents loaded instantly. Ownership structures, entity layers, board approvals. Everything aligned exactly as planned. Marcus leaned back, reviewing the timeline. Monday morning. Public release. After that, nothing would stay hidden. He reached for his phone again and scrolled through the latest messages. One stood out. Legal team requesting confirmation on final asset visibility disclosures. Marcus read it carefully, then responded. Proceed as structured, no deviations. He set the phone aside, because the structure mattered. Not just for the deal, for what came after. Back at the house, Olivia stood in the kitchen, staring at the counter. Ethan had left an hour ago. The house felt different now. Not because Marcus was gone, but because something about his absence didn't feel like loss. It felt incomplete. She walked over to the stack of documents the attorney had sent, flipped through them again. Her eyes paused again on the same clause, undisclosed assets. She frowned. It didn't make sense. Marcus didn't have undisclosed assets. She knew everything about his life, or at least she thought she did. She reached for her phone and opened a message thread with her attorney, typing slowly. "Can you clarify what qualifies as undisclosed assets in this context?" She hesitated before sending, then pressed send. A few minutes later, the reply came. "Any financial holdings, business interests, equity positions, or assets not explicitly listed in shared marital disclosures." This is standard protection language. Olivia read the message, then again. Her mind moved through Marcus's life, his job, his routine, his silence. There was nothing there. Nothing that pointed to anything hidden. Still, the way he signed, the way he walked away, the way he didn't fight, it didn't match. She set the phone down slowly. Across the city, Marcus closed his laptop. Everything was in place. He stood, walked to the window, and looked out over the skyline. Lights stretching across the distance. Movement everywhere. Most people never saw what operated beneath it. The decisions, the structures, the quiet control. His phone rang again. This time a different number. He answered. "Yes, Mr. Hale," the voice said, urgent but controlled. "There's a complication." Marcus didn't move. "Go ahead." A financial blog picked up early signals. "They're speculating on ownership. They don't have confirmation, but they're close." Marcus's gaze sharpened slightly. "How close?" A pause. Close enough that if they connect the final filing, your name won't stay out of it. Marcus said nothing for a second. Then calmly, "Hold the line," he ended the call. And for the first time since everything began, the timeline wasn't just tightening, it was shifting. Marcus reached for his jacket. Because if the truth was going to surface sooner than planned, he needed to decide whether to let it happen, or control how it did. And somewhere across the city, Olivia was already starting to question a version of him that was about to disappear. By Monday morning, the city hadn't changed. Traffic moved the same. Coffee shops opened at the same hour. People walked into offices with the same routines. But beneath it, something had shifted. Marcus saw it before anyone said it. His phone had been vibrating since before sunrise. Emails, messages, missed calls from numbers he recognized and some he didn't. He didn't answer any of them. Instead, he stood by the window of his private office, watching the sky line settle into daylight. Timing had moved out of his control, but not entirely. His laptop screen glowed behind him. A financial site already had a headline up. Speculation builds around 2B energy tech acquisition, ownership structure. Remains unclear. Marcus read it once. They were close. Closer than planned. Still not enough. Across town, Olivia sat at her kitchen counter with her laptop open and her phone pressed between her shoulder and ear. "I'm telling you, something doesn't add up," she said, pacing slowly. He didn't fight anything. Not the house. Not the money. Nothing. Her attorney's voice came through calm and measured. "Some people prioritize a clean separation. It's not unusual." "No," Olivia said, shaking her head. "This wasn't that." She glanced at the documents again. "That clause," she continued, "the one about undisclosed assets. Why would that even matter in our case? It's standard language," the attorney replied. "Protection against future claims." Olivia stopped walking. "But what if it's not just standard?" she asked. A pause on the other end. "Do you have reason to believe there are undisclosed assets?" the attorney asked. Olivia hesitated. Images flickered through her mind. Marcus's calm, his silence, the way he had signed everything without hesitation. "I don't know," she admitted. "That's the problem." Back in his office, Marcus finally picked up his phone. One call. He chose it carefully. "Go ahead," he said when the line connected. "We're live in 20 minutes, the voice on the other end said. "Major outlets are ready." Once filings hit, everything connects. Marcus nodded to himself. "And internal?" he asked, already shifting. "People are asking questions." Marcus glanced at the screen again. The speculation article had updated. New paragraph. "Sources suggest ownership may trace back to a private holding entity registered under the name M. Hale." He exhaled slowly. There it was. Not public yet, but close enough. "Stay on schedule," Marcus said. "No early confirmations." "Understood," he ended the call. Across the room, his laptop chimed. New email. Board confirmation. Public release initiated. Marcus closed his eyes for a brief second, then opened them again. Because once this started, it wouldn't stop. At the house, Olivia refreshed her screen without realizing she'd been doing it for 10 minutes. The same article appeared again. Updated. Expanded. Her eyes locked onto a single line. Private holding entity registered under the name M. Hale. She frowned. Hale, it wasn't a rare name, but it wasn't common either. Her stomach tightened slightly. She clicked the link. More details loaded slowly. Ownership, layers, corporate structures, names she didn't recognize. But the initial M. Hale. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She typed. Marcus Hale net worth. Nothing immediate. She added more. Marcus Hale Company. Still nothing clear, because Marcus had never used his full name publicly. Never needed to. Her phone buzzed. "Ethan." She answered immediately. "Hey," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Have you seen this?" Ethan asked, his tone sharper than usual. "What?" "The acquisition news," he said. "It's everywhere." "I'm looking at it right now," Olivia replied. "Some guy named Hale is tied to it," Ethan continued. "Probably just coincidence, probably." That word didn't settle right. "Yeah," Olivia said, forcing it. "Probably," but her eyes didn't leave the screen. Ethan kept talking. "Either way, it's big money. Whoever owns that company just made a killing." Olivia swallowed. "How much?" she asked. "After valuation?" "Close to $1 billion personally, maybe more," Ethan said. "Depends on equity. $1 billion. The number didn't feel real. She looked back at the name. M. Hale. Her chest tightened. No, she whispered under her breath. What? Ethan asked. Nothing, she said quickly. Just thinking. Because it didn't make sense. Marcus didn't have that kind of life. He didn't have that kind of reach. He fixed operational problems. He worked normal hours. He came home in the same car every day. That was who he was, wasn't it? Across the city, Marcus sat down at his desk as notifications flooded in. Financial outlets, internal alerts, direct messages from board members. His name wasn't fully out yet, but it was moving. He opened the official filing, read through it one last time, then approved the final release. There was no announcement, no speech, just a confirmation click. Outside, nothing changed. Inside, everything did. At the house, Olivia refreshed the page again. This time, the headline had updated. Ownership confirmed in 2B deal. CEO identity revealed in SEC filing. Her breath caught. She clicked. The page loaded slowly. Too slowly. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the counter, because somewhere in the back of her mind, something was already breaking. Across the city, Marcus' phone rang again. He didn't look at the number. He already knew. He answered. Yes, Mr. Hale, the voice said, unable to hide the shift in tone. It's public. Marcus leaned back in his chair, silent, steady, because at that exact moment, Olivia's screen finished loading, and the name she had dismissed as impossible was about to become the only one she could see. Olivia didn't breathe when the page finished loading. The headline stayed at the top, bold and clean. Beneath it, a photo began to render, slow, pixel by pixel. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. Then the image sharpened. Marcus, not in his usual clothes, not in the worn jacket or the quiet, forgettable presence she had lived beside for years. He stood in a dark suit, perfectly fitted, composed, still, surrounded by men who looked like they belonged in rooms she had only seen in magazines. And they weren't leading, they were standing behind him. Olivia blinked, once, twice. Her mind rejected it before it could process it. No, she said under her breath. The article continued below the image. Marcus Hale, confirmed as majority stakeholder and acting CEO following the finalized $2 billion acquisition. Her vision blurred. She scrolled down. Numbers. Ownership structures. Direct quotes from board representatives. Each line made it worse. Not because it was because it was precise, documented, real. Her phone slapped slightly in her hand. She grabbed it just before it hit the counter. Olivia? Ethan's voice came through, distant now. She had forgotten he was still on the line. Say that again, he said. You went quiet. Olivia swallowed. I need to call you back. What? Why? She didn't answer. She ended the call. The silence in the house pressed in around her. Marcus Hale, CEO, majority stakeholder. $2 billion deal. The words didn't belong in the same sentence, not with the man she had just divorced, not with the man who had stood across from her and signed everything away without a second thought. Her chest tightened. She scrolled back up, looked at the image again. It was him, no doubt. No angle that softened it, no version that made it something else. It was him, and suddenly every moment from the past few weeks shifted. His calm, his silence, the way he didn't fight, the way he didn't care. It wasn't indifference, it was certainty. Olivia pushed away from the counter, pacing now. No, that doesn't make sense. Her voice sounded thin in the empty space. She grabbed her phone again and dialed her attorney. It rang twice, 3 times, then connected. I just saw something, Olivia said immediately, her voice tighter than she intended. You need to look at this article right now. What article? The attorney asked. The acquisition. The one in the news. Look at the name. There was a pause on the other end, typing, scrolling, then silence. Longer this time. Olivia, the attorney said slowly. This appears to be legitimate. Olivia stopped moving. What do you mean appears? She asked. The filing is real, the attorney continued. SEC documentation confirms it. Ownership traced to Marcus Hale. Olivia's grip on the phone tightened. That's my ex-husband, she said. Another pause. Then, more carefully, yes, it seems that way. Olivia let out a breath that didn't feel like relief. That's not possible, she said. He doesn't have that kind of money. He doesn't run anything like that. The attorney didn't respond right away. Olivia, she said finally, we need to review your divorce agreement again. The words landed heavier than anything else. Why? Olivia asked, even though she already knew. Because if he held assets under his sole name and they were never disclosed, the attorney began. Olivia closed her eyes. Then the clause you signed applies, the attorney finished. Undisclosed assets remain exclusively theirs. No future claim. Olivia felt the floor shift under her. You're telling me, she started, then stopped, because she couldn't finish the sentence. Yes, the attorney said quietly. If this structure was in place before or during your marriage, and it was legally separate, then you have no claim to it. Olivia sank into the nearest chair. Her eyes drifted back to the screen, to his face, to the version of him she had never seen. And there's nothing we can do? She asked. The silence this time was the answer. Across the city, Marcus sat in his office as the first wave hit. Messages changed tone, from controlled to urgent to congratulatory. His phone rang again and again. He ignored most of them, except one. He answered without looking. Yes. Marcus, the voice said. Familiar now. It's everywhere. Financial networks picked it up. Your name is trending. Marcus leaned back in his chair. How long before it stabilizes? He asked. A few hours, the man replied. Then it becomes narrative. Marcus nodded slightly. Narrative. That was the part that mattered. Because facts settled, stories lingered. He ended the call and stood, walked to the window again. The city hadn't changed, but how it saw him had. Back at the house, Olivia hadn't moved. Her phone rested loosely in her hand, the article still open. Her mind replayed everything, every conversation, every dismissal, every moment she had compared him to Ethan and chosen. Her phone buzzed again. Ethan. She stared at the screen, then answered. Tell me you saw it. He said immediately. Olivia didn't speak. Olivia? He pressed. I saw it, she said quietly. A pause, then a different tone. So, what does that mean? Ethan asked. The question hung there, not concerned, not confused. Calculated. Olivia felt it. For the first time she heard it clearly. I don't know, she said. But she did. It meant everything had changed, not in the way she expected, in the way she couldn't undo. Ethan exhaled slowly. We should talk. About what? Olivia asked. Another pause. Longer this time. About next steps, he said. Next steps. Not us. Not you. Steps. Olivia closed her eyes. Because in that moment she understood something she hadn't before. She hadn't just misjudged Marcus. She had misjudged everyone. Her hand trembled slightly as she lowered the phone. And across the city, Marcus picked up his again. A new message, unknown number. Simple. We need to discuss your former marital disclosures. Urgent. Marcus stared at it for a second, then locked the screen. Because now it wasn't just public. It was personal. And the people who had underestimated him were finally starting to realize exactly what they had lost. Ethan arrived without calling. He didn't wait for Olivia to invite him in. He let himself through the front door like he had been doing all week, but something about his energy had changed. Less relaxed. More alert. Olivia was still sitting at the kitchen counter, laptop open, Marcus's face frozen on the screen in front of her. Ethan saw it immediately. So it's real, he said. Olivia didn't look up. Yes. He stepped closer, glancing at the article. His expression shifted. Recognition. Calculation, that's... He paused, then let out a short breath. That's not small money. Olivia closed the laptop slowly. I know. The silence between them stretched. Different now. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Did you know? The question was direct. Olivia shook her head. No. Ethan studied her face for a second longer than necessary. You're sure? He pressed. That landed harder than it should have. Olivia's eyes snapped up. Why would I lie about that? Ethan didn't answer right away, because the truth was obvious. If she had known, she wouldn't be here. She wouldn't be sitting in this house having signed everything away. She would still be married. That realization sat between them heavy. Uncomfortable. Ethan straightened slightly. Okay, he said, tone shifting again. So what now? Olivia hesitated. Because for the first time since this started, she didn't have an answer. I don't know, she admitted. Ethan exhaled slowly, pacing once across the kitchen. This changes things, he said. How? Olivia asked. He stopped, turned to face her. Because you were married to him, he said. Which means, depending on timing, depending on structure, there could be exposure. Legal exposure. Olivia frowned. My attorney already went over that. Your attorney doesn't handle deals like this, Ethan said. This is different. His tone wasn't concerned. It was strategic. Olivia heard it clearly now. Are you worried about me, she asked, or about you? Ethan didn't smile. Not this time. I'm being realistic, he said. She looked at him for a long moment, then looked away, because she already knew the answer. Across the city, Marcus was in a smaller conference room now, not the boardroom, not the public-facing office. This one was quiet, controlled. Two people sat across from him. Legal. They had the documents open, screens aligned, everything precise. We've reviewed the divorce timeline, one of them said. Execution occurred prior to public disclosure. Marcus nodded. And the asset structure? He asked. Fully insulated, the second replied. Everything tied to the holding entity was separate. No commingling. No disclosure obligation under marital reporting, based on how it was filed. Marcus leaned back slightly. And risk? Minimal, the first said. Unless she challenges the validity of the agreement. But given the clause and the fact that she signed willingly, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Marcus was silent for a moment, then, prepare for contact. From her? The second asked. Yes. They exchanged a glance. Understood, the first said. How do you want to handle it? Marcus's gaze shifted briefly to the window, then back. Controlled, he said. Back at the house, Olivia's phone buzzed again. A notification this time. Another article. Then another. And another. Her name wasn't in them. Not yet. But the story was spreading. Fast. She opened one, scrolled. Her chest tightened again, because now the articles weren't just about the deal. They were about him. His background. His rise. Speculation about how long he had been operating under the radar, and buried in one paragraph, a mention of a recent divorce filing. No names. Just timing. Olivia's breath caught. Ethan saw it. What is it? He asked. She turned the screen toward him. He read it quickly. Then looked back at her. That's going to connect? He said. When Olivia asked, soon, Ethan replied, silence again, this time heavier, because now it wasn't just about what she lost, it was about what everyone would see. Olivia stood up abruptly. I need to talk to him, she said. Ethan frowned. About what? About this, she said, gesturing at the screen. About everything. Ethan's expression hardened slightly. You think he's going to pick up? He asked. Olivia didn't answer. She grabbed her phone and dialed. It rang once, twice, then went to voicemail. She ended the call immediately, tried again, same result. Her grip tightened. Try texting, Ethan said. Olivia typed quickly. We need to talk. She hit send, watched the message go through, then waited. Nothing, no response, no read receipt, just silence. Across the city, Marcus's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced down at it, saw her name. Didn't pick it up, didn't open the message. One of the lawyers noticed. Do you want us to respond? He asked. Marcus shook his head. Not yet. He turned the phone face down, because timing still mattered. Even now, back at the house, Olivia stared at her screen. Still nothing. Ethan shifted beside her. You need to think carefully, he said. Before you do anything. Olivia didn't look at him. About what? She asked quietly. About how you approach this, yes, he said. This isn't personal anymore. It's legal. It's public. She let out a short, hollow breath. It was always personal, she said. Ethan didn't respond, because now he wasn't sure where he stood either. Olivia picked up her phone again, scrolled back to the article. To the image. Mark's suit, that expression, that control. And for the first time she realized something that hit deeper than the money. He hadn't just hidden what he had hidden who he was, and she had never even tried to see it. Her phone buzzed again, a new notification. Not an article this time, a message, unknown number. She opened it. We represent Mr. Marcus Hale. Any further communication should be directed through our office. Olivia stared at the screen, then looked up slowly, because in that moment, it wasn't just that he wasn't answering. It was that he had already decided. She wouldn't be speaking to him directly again. The calls didn't stop. By midday, Olivia's phone had become something she couldn't control. Unknown numbers. Private numbers. Media inquiries she didn't answer. Messages from people she hadn't spoken to in years. She stopped picking up, stopped responding, but she couldn't stop reading. Every article now carried his name. Not just Marcus Hale, CEO, founder, primary decision-maker behind one of the largest private acquisitions of the year. And every time she saw it, something inside her tightened again. Because she remembered him differently. Standing in the kitchen. Quiet. Unremarkable. Waiting for her to finish talking about someone else. Now, and she wasn't part of that world anymore. Ethan stood near the window, his phone in his hand, scrolling faster than usual. He hadn't sat down in over 20 minutes. "That's it," he muttered. Olivia looked up. "What?" "They connected it," he said, turning the screen toward her. She didn't want to look. But she did. A new article. Shorter, sharper. Recent divorce filing linked to newly revealed CEO Marcus Hale. Sources confirm separation finalized days before public disclosure. Olivia's stomach dropped. It wasn't speculation anymore. It was narrative. "She was married to him," Ethan said under his breath, more to himself than to her. Olivia didn't respond, because suddenly she had a face. And it was hers. Ethan lowered the phone slowly. "That's not good," he said. "For who?" Olivia asked quietly. He didn't answer right away, and that was answer enough. Olivia stood up, pushing the chair back harder than she meant to. "I need to fix this," she said. Ethan frowned. "Fix what?" She turned toward him. "You don't understand? I didn't know." Ethan let out a short breath. "That doesn't change what's already done." The words landed cold, because he wasn't wrong. But he wasn't saying it for her, he was saying it for himself. Olivia grabbed her phone again, scrolled through her messages. Marcus's name still there, her last text unanswered. She hesitated, then typed again. "Marcus, please, just talk to me." She stared at the screen, watched the message send. Nothing to reply, no acknowledgement, just silence. Across the city, Marcus stepped out of the building through a private exit. No cameras, no attention. The chaos stayed at the front. He preferred it that way. A car was already waiting. He got in without a word. As the door closed, the driver glanced at him through the mirror. "Where to?" Marcus paused for a second, then gave an address, not his office, not anywhere public. The car pulled into traffic. His phone buzzed again. He already knew who it was. He didn't need to look, but he did. Her name. Another message. He read it, this time. "Marcus, please, just talk to me." He stared at the words longer than necessary, not because he was considering it, because he was remembering. The kitchen, the conversations, the way she had looked at him when she thought he had nothing, the way she had stopped looking at him at all. Marcus locked the screen, set the phone down. Because some conversations only mattered when they happened at the right time, and that time had passed. The car turned onto a quieter street, slowed, stopped in front of a low-profile building. No signs, no attention. Inside, a smaller team was already waiting. Not corporate, not public, private. One of them stepped forward as Marcus entered. "We've mapped the exposure points," he said, handing over a tablet. Marcus took it, scanning quickly. Media cycles. Narrative shifts, legal angles, everything structured. "Response?" Marcus asked. "Minimal," the man replied. "You stay quiet, let the story settle." Marcus nodded. That aligned with what he wanted. No statements, no corrections, no reaching back. He handed the tablet back, "Then we stay quiet." Back at the house, Olivia's phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Marcus. It was someone else, a friend. "You okay?" "Just saw the news," another message followed. "Did you really divorce him right before this?" Then another. "I didn't even know you were separating." Olivia dropped the phone onto the counter. Because now it wasn't just internal. It wasn't just between her and Ethan. It was everywhere. Ethan watched her carefully, not stepping closer, not offering comfort, just observing. Because even he understood something now. The situation had flipped, and not in their favor. Olivia turned toward him slowly. "You knew," she said. Ethan frowned. "Knew what? That something was off," she said. "You saw it too." He shook his head. "I saw a guy who wasn't moving fast enough." "That's not the same thing," she replied. Silence. Ethan looked away first this time. Olivia let out a breath that felt heavier than anything before it, because she could see it clearly now. Not just Marcus, but Ethan. The way he measured things, the way he adjusted, the way he stood just far enough away now to not be tied to the mistake. Her mistake. She picked up her phone again, opened the message thread, still nothing. No response, no acknowledgement. She swallowed. Because for the first time, it wasn't about getting him back, it was about being heard. And even that was no longer guaranteed. Across the city, Marcus stepped into another room, this one quieter than the last. No screens, no voices, just space. He sat down, finally still. His phone buzzed once more. He didn't check it immediately. Instead, he leaned back slightly, closing his eyes for a brief second. Because everything had aligned. Not perfectly, but enough. He reached for the phone. Another unknown number. he answered. Yes. Mr. Hale, the voice said, measured. We've received an inquiry from your ex-wife's legal representative. They're requesting a discussion regarding the divorce agreement. Marcus opened his eyes, not surprised. Response, he asked. They're asking if you're open to revisiting terms. A pause, short, controlled. That's nothing particular, then spoke. No. The word landed clean. Final. Understood, the voice replied. The line ended. Marcus set the phone down slowly. Because that was it. No negotiation, no revision, no return. Across the city, Olivia's phone buzzed again. Her attorney. She answered immediately. Olivia, the attorney said, tone careful. I reached out to his legal team. And? Olivia asked. A pause, then he declined. Olivia didn't speak. Because in that moment, it wasn't just the deal she lost. It wasn't just the money. It was the realization that the man she thought she understood was already completely out of her reach. And he wasn't coming back. The house felt bigger without him, not because anything had changed physically, but because everything that had filled it quietly before was gone. Olivia noticed it in the mornings first. No coffee already made, no soft movement in the kitchen, no presence that existed without needing to be seen. Just silence. She stayed there anyway. In the house she had fought to keep. At first, she told herself it was practical. Familiar, irresistible suisance over. But the truth settled in slowly. Every room reminded her of something she had ignored. The kitchen where she had asked him about money like it defined him. The living room where Ethan had laughed while Marcus stayed quiet. The doorway where Marcus had stood, watching her choose someone else. She couldn't walk through the house without seeing it now. Not the version she had believed, the version she had missed. Her phone still buzzed. Less now. But enough. The articles had slowed. The headlines had shifted to other stories. But Marcus's name remained. Not as speculation anymore. As fact, CEO founder. Strategic operator behind a multi-billion-dollar deal. And every time she saw it, she felt the same drop in her chest. Not shock anymore. Understanding. Too late. Ethan stopped coming by. Not abruptly. Just gradually. The calls became shorter. The visits less frequent. The tone different. Until one day, there was nothing. No explanation. No confrontation. Just absence. Olivia didn't chase him, because now she understood exactly how that felt. She sat at the kitchen table one evening, the same place where everything had started to fall apart, and opened her laptop again. Not to search, not to confirm anything new, just to look. Marcus's photo appeared again. The same one, the same calm expression. But now, she saw something she hadn't before. He wasn't hiding. He was choosing. Choosing not to explain himself. Not to prove anything. Not to fight for someone who had already decided his value. And suddenly, everything made sense. Why he didn't argue. Why he didn't hesitate. Why he signed everything away like it didn't matter. Because it didn't, not to him. The money wasn't what defined him, it never had been. She had just been the one measuring it. Her throat tightened, because she realized something harder than losing the money. She had never actually known him. Not really. She had seen what she wanted to see. A man who was safe, predictable, limited. And when she thought she found something better, she walked away. Not because he changed, because she did. Olivia closed the laptop slowly. The room felt still again. But not empty this time, just quiet. Her phone sat beside her. Marcus's name still there in the messages, unanswered. Final. She didn't try again, because there was nothing left to say that would change anything. Some things didn't break loudly, they ended quietly. And by the time you understood what they were already gone. Across the city, Marcus stood on the edge of a different kind of silence. Not the absence of something, the presence of it. His office overlooked the skyline, the same city, the same movement, but his place in it had shifted. Not outwardly, internally. The calls had slowed, the noise had settled. What remained was control, clarity, choice. He picked up his phone, scrolled once, then stopped. Olivia's name, her messages, still there. He looked at them for a moment. Not with anger, not with satisfaction, just acknowledgement. Then he locked the screen, set the phone down, and let it stay there. Because some doors didn't need to be closed loudly. They just stayed closed. Marcus turned back to the window, unaware, unchanged. And that was fine. He didn't need to notice. He had nothing left to prove. Back in the house, Olivia sat alone as the light outside dimmed. She didn't cry, not anymore, because the pain had moved past that, into something quieter, something permanent. Understanding that she hadn't just lost a man. She had lost the version of love that didn't need to prove itself, and she traded it for something that never really existed. The realization stayed with her, not as punishment, as truth. Some people lose love chasing wealth. Others prove their worth by never needing to show it. If this story stayed with you, let me know what you think. Would you have made a different choice?